Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mount Baker Middle School. And my name is Keisha. I am representing the Office of Equity, Engagement, and Outreach at the City of Auburn. We are here today with some lovely individuals from the City of Auburn. We have our mayor here, and we also have our superintendent, Dr. Spaciotti. And we also have our directors here that we're going to hear from tonight. And thank you, Auburn School District, for allowing us to use this beautiful facility. So for the ones who were not here for the first series of meetings, what we did, we had 8 meetings across the city, and we simply asked 2 questions. What concerns are you all facing that we as employees may not see? And what possible solutions do you all have? Number 1 was gun violence. Number 2 is homelessness. Number 3 was theft. Number 4 was gang activity. Number 5 was drugs. Number 6 is speeding. Number 7 was vandalism. Number 8, not enough police force. Number 9, lack of accountability. And number 10, child safety. So if you were here for the first series of meetings, a lot of these things may sound very familiar. Now I'm going to list off the possible solutions that you all have come up with. At number 1, across the city, block watch program. Number 2 was holding people accountable. Number 3 was surveillance and traffic cameras. Number 4, more community resources. Number 5, meet your neighbors. Number 6, more community meetings. Number 7, opportunities and resources for youth. Number 8, more reporting. Number 9, more speed bumps. And number 10, more police presence. So what we have done is we have collected all of that information and your feedback, and we as a team kind of put our heads together to figure out what those solutions are and to let everyone be aware of the things that we have already done, the things that we are doing, and the things that we plan on doing.
Good to see you. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'll echo Keisha's great words of introduction. We are so happy to host these. These are kind of the City of Auburn's sessions. They've really brought the leadership, but we want to partner and be a part of the solution. And we really feel like our schools are our community schools. So we're working together to partner and to do all the things that we can to help our community thrive. And your presence here is really an important part of that. I'm really excited that this conversation has continued. The safety of our community, the ability to go out and let kids play outside and people feel safe in their neighborhood, in schools, and around town is absolutely critical. And I've certainly caught a passion for that, and recently wrote a letter to all of our legislators talking about some of the violence issues and some of the constraints in the law that I think are hampering our efforts to address them. So we want to keep up that voice from our community. It's really important that we tell our story and we not accept anything that we don't feel is acceptable, right? The mayor has a great phrase that she says, "I'm only one vote, I'm only one vote." And so I get some traction, but it's when our legislators, our county representatives, the greater leadership in our state hears from our whole community together that I think we're really going to make some progress. But I'm not here to be on my soapbox. I'm here to talk about the schools and specifically things that came up in the last round of the 7 meetings that we can share some things that we're actually doing as a school district. Some of these are things that have been in place a little bit, some are new, and I'm really honored to share that. And you'll see some steps that we've taken behind me, and I'm going to get to a place where I can see the screen a little bit and also share with you. If you're in the back, you can't see. I'm going to read them just so that it's really transparent. There are 3 boxes with numbers, and these are people. And we actually started by prioritizing funding for a director of safety and security. Auburn, we're a proud small town, right? And over time, our district has grown, and other districts have added that leadership position. And 2 years ago, we decided this is absolutely essential to have leadership, to have somebody who can help our security force with training, with supplies, with preparation, and really help with follow through with some of the things I'm going to describe, like connecting threat assessments. So that's been invaluable. If you were here at West Auburn at the first session, you might have met Director D. Nellens. He's doing a great job for us. Second, we have 3 full-time school resource officers, and I would say the majority of the things that you'll see up here weren't here when I started in 2015. It's, this whole topic has evolved and changed quite a bit, right? And so we recognize the need to employ school resource officers who are full-time Auburn police officers who interchangeably can work a police beat or do an assignment for the chief or be in our schools. But when we have school, they're assigned to school. So about 9 months of the year total, they're with us. Summer vacation, some of the breaks, they actually do police work because they're police officers. But they're really skilled. They understand that their role is not just the law enforcement part, but it's really blending that with being an educator, helping students make good decisions, teaching, as well as some of the other things that come along with the law enforcement. They are here to keep our kids safe. They're incredibly skilled, and we're really thankful and appreciative of that relationship. And they build relationships with students, and I think a connection and a trust with law enforcement that you might not get not having that personal relationship, but having that opportunity in our 3 comprehensive high schools is where they primarily are, has been really helpful. We also have 12 campus safety officers, and a campus safety officer is an Auburn School District employee. They're not armed, but they are trained in de-escalation and some physical management, but mostly they have relationships, they're present, they're at school, they're at events. They're probably some of the most visible staff in the Auburn School District. Again, 10 years ago we had 3, 1 at each high school. We now have 2 at each large high school. We have 1 at West Auburn, our alternative high school, and we have 1 at each middle school. And then we added 1 more officer this year who is focused on supporting elementary, and she's starting that relationship, and she's available if we don't have a full-time staff member at each elementary school for security, but she's available to come out if there's an event or a situation, and it's been really well received, I think. We have one other resource that's not on this list, which is we have beefed up our mental health and our drug and alcohol prevention staff significantly, to the point that every middle school and every high school has a full-time resource for mental health and either full or shared drug and alcohol prevention counselor. And we do that somewhat through employees of the district, but also partnerships with other organizations that specialize in those disciplines. So that people side is really important. The need is great. When I talk about mental health, honestly, you talk to anybody, they'd say we don't have enough. And yet we went from close to 0 to 1 at every secondary school. I'd love to have them at elementary schools. I see some smiles of elementary colleagues in the back. Before I go on, I meant to say this at the beginning and I just got on a roll. I would like to make an introduction. So Director Shalia McLaughlin is here, and she's from our school board. She's a longtime parent, PTA president, second-term school board member, and just a great caring community member. All right, some of the other things, thank you. Some of the other things that we do. We made a decision based on a forum like this about a year and a half ago with parent audience to lock all of our front doors. So our protocol now is that our outside doors are all locked. And we do that for safety. It gives us an opportunity to kind of control access So in a school like Mount Baker, for example, there's a main office on the left, there's an attendance office on the right, but if that door was unlocked, somebody could just walk straight down that hallway, not even check in, and then we don't know where they are. And this gives us an opportunity to greet people, and we still want to do it in a friendly, welcoming way. But this is something that I think it, more than anything, makes our staff and our parents feel safe. And it signals to our community that we take safety very seriously. We have a security and emergency preparedness committee that handles a whole bunch of things, probably a lot of topics that you're not here to discuss tonight, earthquake readiness and doing all of the drills and all the things that keep us safe. So we'll kind of park that one for now. I mentioned we have drug and alcohol prevention intervention specialists. We also have a coalition which has district staff, community members, representatives from across Auburn and the region working together to help our students be supported and prevent abuse and addiction. We have entry vestibules. So this is a feature of all of our new schools, which is that there's a double entrance. And essentially, you can come in out of the rain, and we can still do that access control with locked doors on the inside. That was on the bond. That, by the way, thank you to the community. We got great support on the bond. We had a majority. We just didn't quite reach a supermajority. So our board is talking about when we will come back and offer a bond issue again, because we really want to finish a job. And our saying is that we don't want how old your school is to determine how secured it is. We want all of our schools to have the entry vestibules, but at all of the schools built in the last 10 years or so, they have that improved security feature. Talked about mental health therapists and the district safety committee. Okay, so issues that were identified by the community, a lot of questions and conversation. I'm going to kind of blitz through them, and I know there's a Q&A if you want to go deeper, happy to. Vaping is one of the challenging issues really since maybe 2016, 2018 across America. And I talked to principals at different convenings. It's in middle school and high school, a definite issue, a challenging thing. It's very easy to hide vapes, and oftentimes are used in bathrooms. Here's what we're doing. We joined a class action lawsuit last year and received a multi-$100,000 settlement just for our share of it. It's actually millions and millions. Sued Juul, sued Altria. These are makers of those devices. They were marketing to kids and doing all kinds of things that create a real impact in the schools. One of the things that we've done with that money is start a pilot program with vape detectors so that we can, what it does is it senses the vape exhaust and triggers to administration and security that there's been something that's gone off. We don't have cameras in the bathroom, obviously, but we do have them outside. So sometimes it'll help us actually stop it in the act. Most of the time it's at least raising awareness. When this started, our principals said this could have been a full-time job, just monitoring the vape detectors. And it's really started to take hold and slow things down. Honestly, we still need a lot of help. There's a bill in the legislature addressing vape being flavored and marketed to kids and available. This is like the cigarette smoking of our time. I remember when I was in school, there was a smoking lounge. Does anybody remember that? If you're old enough. We're not going to bring them back. And then actually, we went through a time where cigarettes were on the decline and you didn't have this kind of issue in schools so much, but it's really come back with a vengeance with vaping. Cybersecurity is critical. You hear about districts that have attacks. We take very seriously the protecting the physical safety of students, but also their privacy, their data. We have a cybersecurity specialist We're doing other things now in the area of contracts so that we can be as secure as possible. But I just want to let you know, we don't take that lightly. We've done a number of things to protect our data, like two-factor authentication on everything. Just today, tried to get into my email on my phone, said, no, you got to authenticate again. It's like, I just did that, but we know that it's the right thing, keeps us safe. In terms of gangs, we have work within our security team and committees, and then we work regionally with other districts, and then we work obviously with law enforcement. Our police is a great partner in the work. We do not allow gang attire and symbols in schools. You don't have to be doing anything wrong, just the fact that that's present is not okay, and so we intervene and address that. But to be real, this is something that has been, it kind of ebbs and flows, and it's definitely been a presence, and I think has been intertwined with some of the things that we see happening in the community on nights and weekends, and some of the things that are not keeping kids safe. So it's a priority for us as much as we can, first to keep gang activity outside of school, and then also hopefully outside of our community. Bullying and cyberbullying, we have things. I want to introduce Gavin Lees in the back, is one of our directors in technology, and he's very familiar with this, so if you have great questions, I'm going to send them your way. Cyberbullying is something that obviously was not a part of school when we were there, and it is nonstop. So you have students who are on their device literally hours a day, during school, nights, weekend, not during class anymore, but nights, weekends, and it creates so many opportunities for kind of adult-free interaction, which oftentimes is wonderful, but also can cause some real serious issues. One of the things that we're doing to be supportive is we have digital citizenship curriculum that we help students learn how to navigate. You know, I sometimes talk about now we need to teach them to fact check, because we're not going to see that from the online providers also, right? So we want kids to be savvy. We want kids to know not to put their personal information out there and how long it stays around and so forth. In terms of fighting in school violence, we have a number of pieces in place, but one thing that most people don't know is we have a threat assessment protocol that was developed by a school psychologist as an adaptation of a United States Secret Service protocol, where it helps you get through what's the root of an issue, and if there's a threat, is it somebody blowing off steam and picked the wrong words, or is there more to it? Do they actually have access to a weapon and a capability to carry something out? All of our schools have administrators who are trained in that. Dean Ellens, I mentioned, goes out to the school and conducts those. So we are upping our game in that area. And then similarly, lockdown communication, we have a new tool this year called Parent Square that's been very successful in communicating with parents. They can say, hey, I want to have text messages, or I want to have an email, or I only want emergency stuff during the day and send all the rest of it at 6 p.m. And the thing that it does as a game changer is it allows the parent to translate everything we send into their home language. And that, like I said, that is new and powerful and really improving our communication with parents in real time. We hear the feedback. People want to be in the loop and know what's happening and know that we're not holding back. And we're sharing as much as we can, as timely as we can, with the caveat that we might not be as fast as the rumor mill on social media. We want to get things right. There's some things that we're not allowed to say for privacy reasons, but we know that the more parents know, the more they can kind of be in control and make good decisions for their kids. So we respect that. All right. I think this is my last thing, and I see a phone coming out, but actually I'm going to encourage all of you to pick up one of these on the way out if you haven't, or maybe Director McLaughlin could even pass them out. We have a magnet with all of our Safe Schools tip line. We believe that the very best defense we have is actually our whole school community stepping up, pulling together and report potential issues before they manifest. We know over and over again, usually somebody knows something. This makes it easy. So if you're not comfortable going to your principal or counselor or teacher in real time, in person, this is an anonymous tool, okay? So this is something that you can call, text, email, use a website. Any of those ways will get the information to us in real time, 24 hours a day. And we frequently use these as a way to nip things in the bud. Could be safety issues, could be just reports of alcohol or self-harm. All those things are totally in bounds. Report, don't ask, should I really be saying this? Let us know, we'll figure it out. And we've sent these home with every kid, and it's been a really great tool. So help us stay safe, just like you're doing tonight. But again, I appreciate all of you for being here. I probably went over my time. I apologize for that. But we're really proud to tell our story. We've been working really hard in this area.
Hello. It's nice to see everyone. Thanks for having me to come out and speak a little bit about our Parks and Recreation. Show of hands, who uses our parks here in Auburn? Excellent. So we do have 33 developed parks here in Auburn and a wide range of recreation programming and events that really help to make Auburn a great place to live. And I would like to just highlight a couple of program areas so that we can keep things moving along. We do have in Lescove Park at the Community Center, we have the Rec Teen Center. Has anyone been by there? Seen the fun sign out front? Excellent. At the Teen Center, we do serve middle school and high school students that go to school here in Auburn. And we have a wonderful partnership with the school district, and they provide busing from our middle schools each day after school. So the kids have a safe ride to the Teen Center. Once they get there, we have caring staff to mentor and supervise, provide structured activities like basketball, a video game lounge, arts in our maker space, and then plenty of free time, because we know that our teens are very social, and so they just want to hang out. And we've got wonderful staff there, and they're able to get in that safe time during their out-of-school hours, and they have the supervision that we want them to have, but they also can get in a lot of activities. We follow that up with a once-a-month late-night program on Fridays, the third Friday of each month, and that, again, gives them a space to be teens, to have fun, to engage with their peers, with a lot of good, caring staff to help mentor and supervise and kind of guide them in that time. Another program area I'd like to highlight is our bike programs. In the last few years, we're fortunate enough to bring in over $300,000 in grant funding to expand our outdoor programming. We've built a mountain bike park at Cedar Lanes, which is just up on 25th Street, and that includes a pump track and about 5 acres of trails and skills areas. We have over 100 mountain bikes in our fleet, and we bring kids out and we teach them how to ride a bike, and we teach them how to ride the trails and how to ride the pump track. And we do so much skill development, self-development, using bikes as a catalyst. We know that when we can get kids active, when we can get them outside, that we see really great gains in their mental health and their physical activity, and it's just a good thing all around. So building on those partnerships with the Auburn School District, we have been able to go into the ECAP preschool program and the transitional kindergarten. Last year, we taught over 300 kids how to get onto a bike, starting on a balance bike, little tiny preschoolers, and then building them up to pedals. We served at Pioneer Elementary in an after-school bike club, which was really successful. We'd walk across the street each day to Cedar Lanes, and we did personal development activities, goal setting, conflict resolution, learning how to work with their team to be successful. And we saw wonderful gains in the kids because they had a place to go where they could be physically active and they could have a sense of belonging and a greater appreciation for a community that they're a part of. To follow up with that, in the summer, we ran a program called Summer Ride. Last summer, we served over 1,200 people at that program with a drop-in mountain biking program twice a week. And it was wonderful to see lots of kids, but families too, coming out and setting up their camp chairs, watching the kids ride bikes and on nice summer evenings. So we've really had great success with getting people outdoors. We provide the biking opportunities for free. The kids come out, they borrow a bike, they borrow a helmet. We're giving them the skills to be able to safely and confidently ride and get around in our community. The last program I'll highlight on that is a bike program as well is a new program. We actually just launched it this week. It's called Ride Revolution, and it is a grant-funded program from the Washington Clean Air Act. So it came down from WashDOT, and the funding there is to teach middle school and high school kids how to use cycling as a mode of transportation. It's a really great program. The kids will learn how to use bike lanes, how to navigate the community safely, how to determine a safe route, how to do basic bike maintenance, and then also personal development. So we've got a program running at Olympic, and then at Olympic Middle School, and then a program at West Auburn High School. And this week they built their bikes, so they took them out of the box, fully built them themselves, and when they complete the program in about a month, they get to keep those bikes. So they're all gonna get a brand new bike, a helmet, a bike lock, and a bike light, so they can ride to work if they have a job, they can ride to school, and they can get out into our community and utilize our parks. There are many other things. I encourage you, if you haven't, to pick up a recreation guide over there on the table. We'd love to tell you more, but there's just too much to tell. So check out a guide and stop by and see what else we have to offer.
All right, good evening. So as Keisha said, I'm representing Public Works. So Public Works does a lot for this city. We actually administer, manage, and operate basically the transportation system, all three of the utilities for the city, water, sewer, and storm, the city's airport, as well as we manage the city's fleet for all of our equipment that we use around the city. Tonight we're going to focus primarily on transportation and talk through kind of what we have that relates to safety and improvements related to transportation. Okay, so first of that, last year we actually did two fairly significant plans. One was our comprehensive transportation plan, and the other one was our comprehensive safety action plan. Both of those involve a lot of study and outreach with the community to get input and information on projects and needs within the community. The comprehensive transportation plan actually looked at about a 20-year period and identified all of the improvements that we need across the system so that we could start to look at how do we fund what's needed in that system, looking not just at what do we need for the vehicles, but what do we need for all those non-motorized, so bike, ped, transit, all of that. The Comprehensive Safety Action Plan was more focused on safety and specifically ways to reduce the potential for crashes that involve fatality and serious injury accidents on our system, with a goal that we reduce those by at least 30% by 2040, and then ultimately we get down to zero. As we did that study, after analyzing the crash data for a 5-year period from 2018 to 2022, what we found is that about 18% of the crashes that involved fatality and serious injuries were related to distracted driving, 15% were related to under the influence of alcohol or drugs, 24% involved a fixed object, 19% involved a turning movement, and 18% involved high speeds. A single crash can involve all of those items or one of those items or any number of those items. So those don't add up to 100% because of that. We also found in that about 59% of those crashes were happening on just 6% of our roadways. So as you can imagine, those are basically our major arterial roadways. So the plan identifies 6 safety emphasis corridors, and that's on the map, the darker kind of maroon corridors. That's what we identified as those safety emphasis corridors. So the next step from that plan, after identifying several projects and programs, is figuring out how to fund that and then start to implement those. Now you can go. All right. One of our other projects, our programs that we work on, is also called our traffic calming program. The intent of this program is to improve safety, reduce speeds in neighborhoods, and discourage cut-through traffic, and to educate the public about traffic safety. So over the last 2 years, we've actually completed 2 significant studies, and both of them are actually in the southeast Auburn area, so south of Highway 18, looking at neighborhoods from a proactive approach, looking at everything in that neighborhood to figure out where can we do improvements to improve traffic calming. Both of those projects will be either finishing up this year or getting under construction this year. And then we have, in 2025 and 2026, we have 2 other projects that are under design right now, with the intent of having those under construction in 25 and 26. Next slide. All right, another program that we work on is called our photo enforcement program. So you've probably seen these where we've got the school zone photo enforcement. So we've got currently enforcement happening in 8 school zones with 12 cameras. The system currently pays for itself, and since we started that program in September of last year, of 2023, we've issued 7,800 warnings and over 37,000 infractions. This is a program that we work heavily with police on. Police does a lot of the heavy lifting on this one. And what we've seen over the last year and a half with that program is noncompliance has dropped from about 27% to about 2% of speeding in those zones. So it is working, and it is doing a great job. What's next for the program? We actually are looking at a new program as well to bring on board, and that is because the state legislature recently approved the ability for cities to actually do speed enforcement on arterial roadways under certain conditions. So in 2025, we'll be doing the study that we need to do to identify the locations where we can do that, with the intent of implementing speed enforcement on some of the arterials in 2026, with probably up to 3 locations picked for that. You can find information about that on our website as well for the annual reports and information as we're doing that. In case you want to change it. And then, also wanted to talk about the tool that we have on our website that allows you to see what we have going on in transportation. So we have an interactive website map that you can look up the projects that we have both in construction as well as design and get information about those projects. In 2025, we've got 8 significant transportation projects that are either under construction right now or will be under construction this year. And we've got 10 additional transportation projects that are in design with the intent to be under construction in 2026 and beyond. So a lot of work going on transportation in the city. And then lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about our C-Click Fix app. This is an app you can download to your phone. And it's a great tool for you and for us. It's a way that you can actually provide us with requests and concerns. You can use the GPS on your phone to tell us the specific location that issue is, as well as upload photos of what that issue is, and a photo is worth 1,000 words for us. It also allows us to talk back and forth with the folks that make the requests, so that if we need to find out more information, we can. And it's a great tool. But we don't monitor it 24/7, so there are certain instances where we'd really prefer you just pick up the phone and call us, whether that's calling us in the office or calling the non-emergency number at police or 911 if you see these things. So these things would be things like a stop sign down, a water main break, water over the roadway, manholes that are open or catch basins that are open. So things that are really significant safety concerns for us. We want to get out there and address them right away, and since we don't monitor that program 24/7, if you do it after hours, we're not going to see it till the next day. So that's what I've got.
Hello, my name is Kent Hay. So I am the Human Services Director in that department. We have 5 people. So there's 3 outreach workers, so 2 full-time outreach workers that go out into the field to all the encampments, a peer support specialist who also helps with some of the chemical dependency issues out in the community, and then I go out myself still when I can. And then we have a person who oversees our federal grant funding for the CDBG program. I'll start with the anti-homelessness department, which is the outreach department. Those folks go out to every location within the city of Auburn to make contact with people, whether they're living in RVs, encampments, tents, in the parks, wherever we get calls from or wherever we locate people. And first we go out, we contact people, offer services, and then if people aren't willing to take services, then we have to do something different, and I'll explain what that is. We go out, we have a backpack, a MiFi hotspot, police radio, so we're partnered with the police department. We don't use the police unless we need the police, so we don't take police out with us. We go out in singles, we don't go out together all the time to cover more ground. There's nothing that we don't do. So we partner with DSHS, HMIS, which is a homelessness management information system, Housing Connector, anything you can think of, we have pretty much access to. So we do the work out in the field. So again, we pull out our computer, we're able to sign people up, get people IDs, get people start working on their housing, and start to house people. The foundation of this program that we have, so you understand, we do have a camping ordinance in the city of Auburn. So there is no camping in the city of Auburn. So when we do get those contacts, we do make contact with people. We have our own shelter in the city of Auburn. So on Auburn Way North, I'm not sure if you've ever, the old sports page, Auburn purchased that, so we own that building now. In that building, we have the food bank, we have a night shelter, we have a day shelter, we have a safe parking program, we have community court, which is a diversion court for low-level crimes, quality of life crimes, and we have a resource center also that runs in there, that runs on Thursdays, so that's where I came from. And then we also partner with We Care, which is a medicated assistance facility that does Suboxone, Sublocade, methadone, those type of medicated treatment for folks who are using fentanyl. In that location, they lease out a space for a recovery cafe model that they do there, which is going really well. We also partner with Health Point, so we take Health Point out into the field with us also to do wound care. Also, they do Sublocade and medication assistance, and also we get people hooked up with primary care physicians, so we try to do a whole care approach. And so that's what the outreach team does. With the camping ordinance, when we make contact with people, it's always our goal to offer services first, right? So we do try to get people inside, that's the goal, and then start working with people on housing. If people are not willing to take that help, we do make it very uncomfortable for people. We want people to go inside. So if people don't want to take the help in the parks, we just have a no camping policy in the parks. We want community members to be able to enjoy the park. So we go out there, we give people time to move. If people are not willing to move, then that's when the police are involved. And we try not to go that route, but we need people to get up. In those areas where we find people that that's outside of the park in those areas, we do try to give them a 24-hour notice, give them time to think about what they want to do the next morning. And then again, if they're not willing to move, we do have to go to that place where they could be trespassed and they could be arrested. If people get to the place where they are arrested, we never stop working with people. So people do reach out to us from jail. We go to jail, we go to court with people. We put together a clean and sober housing program. So with our ARPA funds, we partnered with an agency in the community that provides supportive housing. So if people are willing to go to inpatient treatment for a year, go to inpatient treatment, we'll cover the cost of their clean and sober housing for up to a year to help them get on their feet, get stable. Again, we also do the housing part. So we nominate people for housing. King County puts out a list every day. We nominate people for housing. In 2024, we housed 205 people. So when I throw that number out there, it's great. And then the other part is, I've been here 5 years. We've housed a lot of people. And I can tell you, our goal is to turn the shelter over. Because a lot of times people want to help everybody who's outside and then forget about the people who are inside, and then those people end up becoming chronically homeless and staying there for a long time and they get bypassed. So our goal is to go from structure to structure. We also have Don's Place. Don's Place is a King County supportive housing. So they bought the Clarion Hotel. That's called Don's Place now. So that's filled. Our goal is always Auburn-centered approach. Our goal is to help just folks in Auburn is our approach. And so the majority of those units in that hotel are Auburn people, about 80%, and then the rest of those folks come from the nominations from King County. So that's what the outreach team does. When it comes to CDBG, that's the Community Development Block Grant. That funding currently is used to support our housing repair program. Currently, that's what it's used for the housing repair program. That's to be able to fix certain things on people's homes to keep people housed, seniors mostly. They need a door fixed or something's leaking. We're able to fix that with those community block grants. We also oversee our Human Services Committee. So those are community members who are on our board who help us pick out contracts to fund. So the agencies that we do fund with our general fund dollars, they look over those applications. They pick out every other year who we decide to fund to help us assist with some of these services in the community. This slide that you see here is from January to December, and it shows you the number of contacts we've had with people when we go out is in the blue, and in the red, how much hours were dedicated to when we met those people, how much time we spent with them. And so, again, 205 people, the number of people we contacted was 472. The array is always full for the most part. We get a lot of people from the hospital because we have a hospital here, and so those people come from different areas. We get people from different cities, different states. But again, the goal is really to make sure that we're Auburn centered and make sure that folks in Auburn are getting assisted. So yeah, that's the program.
Okay. Welcome everybody. I'm Mark Cowrie. I'm the police chief. And I wanted to go over just provide some data that I call it unofficial because we haven't completely quality checked it yet. We haven't compared it to the numbers that the FBI has pulled for reported crimes last year in Auburn. But overall, our call volume went down last year, almost 10%. It's still high for a city our size, but it's trending down. And we saw almost double-digit decreases in majority of crimes throughout last year, which is really good. Unfortunately, it sounds bad. We had one more homicide last year than we did the previous year. It is still down from our high in 2021, which is good. And as we look at just basic crime stats, we don't look at 1 year to 1 year. It sounds great to say a 1 year, vehicle theft went down 40%. We look at long term. So we will look at like a 5-year trend to make sure is what we're doing working over that long term, because we want to see those numbers continue to drop from year to year. That's our goal. And so I don't like to, we've done an excellent job, I think, in the police department, addressing some of the problems that you see out there. And so the numbers they look great, but we also look at that long term, like I said. Some of the things that we have done this last year, especially to combat auto theft and vehicle theft, you may have read about it in the news. We added last year 20, they're called flock safety cameras. So they're positioned in various places around the city. And what these cameras do is it monitors traffic. It'll read various vehicle plates as they travel through the camera. And if those vehicles have been entered into a computer database, whether it be that they're a stolen vehicle, that there's a missing person attached to that vehicle, maybe somebody that's a silver alert has been issued for somebody. If it's attached, it will flag that in our system, and officers have an app. Well, that will actually go right to their app. It'll tell them exactly where and when that vehicle flagged in our system. And so just, in the about 6 months that those were in operation last year, I can't give you the exact number of stolen vehicles that we have recovered, that the arrests we've made because of those, but we've also, they help us solve shootings that have occurred in the city. They were instrumental. You may have read about the kidnapping we had last year. The reason that was solved so quickly and we were able to get that person located safely is because the vehicle flagged very quickly on a flock camera. And so we were able to start the investigation very quickly. And so we have also tracked homicide suspects that have come from outside our area, but they come into Auburn, their vehicle hit on a flock camera, and we were able to locate them and turn them over to the agency that was looking for them. And so some of the great work, that just the 20 that we had last year, recently on Monday, if you were at the council meeting or paid attention, the council approved an additional 20 that we're going to be installing this year to help provide more coverage for the city. We also work a lot with throughout the region with our partners in Kent, Federal Way, King County, because as we found, most of the felony crimes that occur in Auburn, those people are also committing crimes throughout our region. And so when we locate somebody in Auburn or a suspect in Auburn, we can help our partners identify what crimes those are committing in other jurisdictions. We have worked together to form, and I hate the word task force because that makes it sound very official, but we form work groups with our partners to see what kind of resources each agency can provide to address the violent crime that occurs throughout our region. If we've had groups that have done robberies in Auburn, they've also done multiple robberies outside of our jurisdiction, but working with our partners, we've identified these groups. They get arrested. Several of them were arrested in Auburn, several arrested outside our jurisdiction, but when we can link them all together, there's more likelihood that a prosecutor can keep them in custody a lot longer and help prevent further problems in the community. And that's one thing we're working right now. If you may have read about the recent murder of the transit bus operator that occurred out, it was not in our city, but we have a good working relationship with transit. We take a zero tolerance approach in Auburn, so anything that happens on a transit bus, if it's reported here, we will make arrests if we can. And so we've been doing that for quite a while. One of the things that we just recently, that helps us in the regional approach, is we received a grant for what's called a NIBIN machine. It's a machine that identifies shell casings. So each shell casing, when it's fired from a particular pistol, has unique characteristics. And this machine helps identify and match those shell casings to a particular firearm. And so we have matched shell casings that have occurred from shootings in Auburn to shootings that have occurred in Seattle. And so this grant, it's a over $200,000 grant because these machines are expensive. So it's allowing us to purchase that machine for Auburn. It is a machine that we will use regionally. Right now there's only one in all of King County, if you can believe that. It's housed in Renton at King County's the sheriff's facility up there. So we will have one in Auburn, so it'll be available to all the South County agencies and also the agencies in Pierce County that we partner with as well. Because everybody knows we are a two-county city. And so some of the things that we also done, and we've taken a regional approach to, is addressing gun violence. One of the things that we find is a lot of the guns that we recover in shootings, they end up being stolen. So this last Veterans Day, we partnered with, and I always get the title right, it's through King County Public House, but it's the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And we handed out over 500 lock boxes to help people secure their firearms so they don't get stolen and so they don't end up in the wrong person's hand and then used in criminal activity. So that's various things that we do to partner with outside entities. We partner with Kent's team quite a bit to help address those quality of life issues here in town. We also take a regional approach when we so law enforcement that's our role, is if somebody is arrested, we're responsible for that. We don't control the prosecution or keeping the person in custody, but we exert pressure, and we take a regional approach with that, with the mayor, myself, the other chiefs in the valley, the other mayors in the valley, to make sure that our feelings and thoughts are heard. And what that has done regionally is it has helped change some King County prosecuting guidelines, especially when it comes to firearms and that sort of activity. So they are filing more cases. They are asking for higher bails in some of the cases that involve firearms. But one thing that is outside of our control is the courts. And so the courts control basically if somebody is released from custody, what the conditions of release. And that has still been problematic. One thing I will let everybody know, we talked about it at the meeting here at Mount Baker and at Pioneer, is we had several shootings in the South End. We identified a known participant and problem that was associated with the majority of those shootings down here. We recently concluded a very lengthy investigation that involved several search warrants, ended up arresting that individual again, recovered several firearms, and unfortunately, the county prosecutor charged him with those crimes. They asked for a high amount of bail, but the subject was released by a King County judge on electronic home monitoring. And so it's the things that are out of our control. And so when I talk at these groups, that's where we need the voice of the community to let the judges know they have control on releasing these individuals back into the community. And feelings can be made known during election season. The judges are elected, and so every vote is crucial. It takes the community to put more of a pressure, because when they hear the voice of the police department, they may not take that into consideration as much as the rest of the community and how it's affecting the people that live in these communities. And so, next slide. So I wanted to provide some data on juvenile crime. It gets a lot of press, but as you see the crime that we identify involve juveniles compared to the prior slide, the activity is not that high in Auburn. And so it's still a problem, and we want to reduce those numbers down to 0. That's the ultimate goal. But every kid out there is not a bad kid. Every kid is not out committing crimes. And so people need to understand that the crime that's happening, it's not always involving juveniles. The amount of crime that we're seeing is actually fairly low. It has remained fairly steady between last year and now, with a couple drops. And because the numbers are so low to begin with, it looks like huge increases. When you're talking, homicide, we'd like those numbers to be 0. But when you go from 1 to 3, it's a 200% increase. So it makes, a good news story that, there's a 200% increase in homicides involving juveniles in Auburn, but the number is actually small. And so we try and reduce those. I try not to, again, look at the percent of change from 1 year. We're looking at long-term trends and how we deploy our staff and how we're trying to address, is it making a difference long-term? So some of the changes that we have made just to address our felony crimes here in town with the staff that we have is we restructured our investigations unit to try and get more detectives available instead of the traditional format we used. It has helped so far, so we have a trial period, making sure that's going to, one way to help continue that downward trend is if we can investigate some of these felony crimes better and identify suspects, get those cases filed, and there's some accountability on that end, that will help reduce our crime rate here. One thing that the city did this last year, thank you, council, thank you, mayor, is we were the only department in the city to have an increase in full-time employees, so we were budgeted for 10 more officers. We are working because the good news is we are budgeted for 10 more. The downside is it takes a while to get those officers hired through the academy, through field training, where they're fully deployable on their own. And so we are working and looking at different ways with these 10 additional staff, what is the best deployment to meet our community's needs. So we are working through that right now. It's an ongoing process. We know we have a little bit of time because it's taking some time. We do a lot of recruiting out in the community. We have a lot of officers going through our testing process. So when you hear things on the news that nobody wants to be a police officer, that is not true. A lot of people are interested in getting into this field, and so we are doing a lot of recruitment, but it does take a lot to get through our process. And so last slide. And I wanted to just kind of break down to show last year's crime, kind of in quarters of the year. Just kind of, we look at this when we deploy our staff as well. When we talk about quarter 2, quarter 3, you're talking about spring and summer. And so we're looking to see are we seeing more activity in certain areas during the summer. When we talk about shots fired, late summer, that is a significant increase. So we will focus on, okay, who are we identifying that's involved in these, where are they occurring, and that helps us deploy our resources as best we can and focus on what activity is happening during these quarters. And so that's why we look at and break down these numbers this way as well. So I think, oh yeah, the last thing, Commander Adams snuck over here, so he's going to talk about our Block Watch program and how to get involved with Block Watch.
Thank you. All right, Block Watch. It's fun for everybody. It's a good program to have. 2 goals of Block Watch. 1, to get to know your neighbors. 2, to increase security in your neighborhood. So it's a 5-step process, and I have them written down here so I don't forget. First step, ask your neighbors if they want to have a Block Watch. It's that simple. 2, have a meeting. At that meeting, step 3 is designate a captain and co-captain. After you have 2 or more meetings, that's when you reach out to the police department, because we want to make sure your Block Watch is viable and people are actually going to attend. After that, you'll reach out to our police department, Officer Aaron Williams, who is in our community response team, and you will coordinate with him. And then the last step is just continue having meetings. It's that simple. And so what we do as the police end is that we like to meet with the captains and co-captains and just understand the concerns, the problems, and the things you're seeing. Officer Aaron Williams is CPTED certified, which is crime prevention through environmental design. He can come out to your residence, your neighborhood, and give you tips and tricks to help deter crime. And it's a free service that we offer. We just like to have a viable Block Watch, people who are committed to helping and being committed to it, because our recommendations are one thing, but it's actually up to the community to put those things in action. We will support you and be there beside you along the way. But those are the steps, and if you have any questions, I'll be around. And also scan our QR code. It'll take you to our website, and it'll give you Officer Aaron Williams' email and answer any other questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Keisha. Before I start the Q&A, I do want to introduce our council members that are here this evening as well. We have our newly minted Deputy Mayor, Cheryl Rakes. Councilmember Kate Baldwin. And Councilmember Clinton Taylor. So thank you for coming tonight. I know I see some familiar faces. You were at the other meetings, whether it was here, Pioneer, Auburn High School, wherever you were. Thank you for coming back and caring about your community. As I said the first time, it really does take all of us working together to make sure that we have a safe community. As Dr. Spiciotti said, if you see something, say something. That's critical, because neither the school district nor our police nor any of our City of Auburn employees are going to be everywhere when something is going on. So we rely on you in the community as well to be part of that community. I have 3 words on the credenza behind my desk, and it's compassion, accountability, and community. We have to have compassion, but without accountability, we don't have a community. So this, hopefully you saw with the presentations this evening and the assessment of what we heard from that first round of meetings, that we are addressing those issues. We may not be fast enough for everyone. We may not be perfect. We may not have every program that you would like to see, but hopefully you got a flavor of what we are doing, what we can do. I will be honest with you, there are some things that we would love to do in this city that by state law we're not allowed to do. And when Dr. Spiciotti was talking about that I say I'm one vote, we're talking to our legislators all the time. I had a call with Senator Kaufman yesterday from the 47th, and the legislature, as you know, is in session right now, so we are really amping up our discussion with them. We have our legislative priorities. And they hear from me, and they know that I'm representing the city. But at the end of the day, I am just one vote and one voice. So they need to hear from all of you, because it's important that they know that you are paying attention in your community and that you care enough to be involved. So one of the things that I want to put up on our website are the bills that we are tracking during the legislative session. And I don't know that, I think Jonathan left, didn't he? Jonathan left, he's gonna hear that from me this week. That it's important that you know what we're following, and then you can let us know as well. Do you agree with the position we're taking on that, or do you disagree? And we will also have how you contact your legislators, right? Auburn is part of 3 legislative districts. The 30th, which is kind of southwest Auburn, closer to Federal Way. The 31st, which is the south part of Auburn. I think we're in the 31st right now. And then the 47th, which encompasses more of the northern part of the city, the northern half of the city. So we are very fortunate that we have 6 representatives and 3 senators that are representing the city of Auburn in the legislature. The bad thing is that we have all of them, and we have to be involved with all of them, and they don't all agree. It's very obvious that parts of our city, and I think Auburn is a very purple city, because we are probably evenly split blue and red and independent, which is a good thing, because that means that we are trying to make sense of things, right? So I want to open it up now to Q&A. If anybody has a question that they would like to ask, and it's not just of me, it's of anyone that's here tonight. Hopefully some of the presentations have piqued your interest in a topic that you would like to hear more about. Are there any questions?
So again, you guys have, thank you so much, all of you, that you guys try to keep our community safe, that we have our homeless intervention that is keeping our parks and roads clear. Activities for our students. This is so wonderful, and I really appreciate last time you mentioned there are, and this time again, there are laws that are preventing us from having a safe city. And I was wondering if it'd be possible if we could, how do I phrase this, sorry. The issue, I guess, is not even our city. The issue is these state legislators, these judges, these state prosecutors who are, the best way to describe it, whatever they believe they're doing, they are pro-criminal, that they hold us less than criminals, that they favor criminals. And I guess, what are these laws? And I understand if you can't answer that now, but could we get a list of these laws, these names, these people who are, in a sense, threatening the safety of our community for their own interests? And what laws would you guys like to see in place that would enable you guys to do your job and keep our community safe from these recidivists?
Well, yeah. I will give you an example of some that we have fought and helped overturn. A couple of years ago, there was, it was called the Blake decision on drug use. It was a case that came before the Washington State Supreme Court, and the defendant was a female who was arrested for possession of drugs, and she said they weren't her drugs. She was wearing a pair of pants that a friend had bought her from Goodwill a day or two before. So she didn't know that there were drugs in her pocket. That case, because it did not say knowingly in the language, she said she didn't know those drugs were in her pocket. Therefore, the Washington State Supreme Court overturned the drug law in this state, and for about a year and a half, there was really nothing illegal about possession of drugs. Now, the city of Auburn, our police officers and our prosecutors and our city attorney did a great job of finding other offenses that would apply. But we did not have a valid drug law in this state. We fought hard. We were in Olympia. We were talking with anybody that would listen. The day that the vote came in the state legislature, it was a Sunday evening at about 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. And I had both of my phones and my laptop conversing with our legislators. It's like, please, because what was before them was not a good bill. But it was sine die, which means the last day of the state legislature. And they only had until a certain point in time, and then the session was over. And it was, if this is the bill that you have, please don't vote yes. Because it was going to be worse for us than what was in place, or what nothing that was really in place. And our legislators, all but 2 of them, voted no. So there was a special session that year, and they came back only to cover the Blake decision, and we got much better legislation out of that. But it was a big fight. So we have that. This year we have a bill, it's House Bill 1380, and I was testifying on it 2 days ago. And you may have heard of the Grants Pass decision on homelessness and the Boise decision. So those 2 decisions through the Ninth Circuit Court had said that if you don't have shelter for an individual, they have the right to sit, sleep, stand, camp on all public property. That was taken to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court overturned both of those decisions. Now, Auburn already had our camping ordinance, and Kent did an amazing job of working with our council to make sure that we had camping legislation that would withstand court. So we already had that in place. We weren't arresting people on the camping ordinance. I don't know that we have yet arrested anyone on it. It's a tool to get people to move along, or to take the resources and services that we have available to them. But this bill, House Bill 1380, sponsored, the main sponsor is Mia Gregerson out of the SeaTac area, is allowing individuals, if there is no shelter space, to sue the city, and the city, if the plaintiff was successful, the city would have to cover all costs plus damages. The Supreme Court has already said that it was an unjust law. So now we're fighting that one, and that's just one of many. But the good news is, and I don't know the number, but there's a Senate bill that actually is an opposite reaction of that wants to codify the Supreme Court decision. So we will be very supportive of that one. We have a person that works full-time just keeping track of all of the bills that are dropped. House Bill 1380 was dropped on a Thursday. Monday was a holiday, and it had its first hearing on Tuesday. That's really fast. House Bill 1380, 1380. That is an incredibly fast-tracked bill. That doesn't happen very often. That's one of the things that's really scaring us right now. So we will continue to watch that one. As I said, I want to put the bills that we're tracking up on our website so you have a link to them. There is a great website that the legislature has that will let you click on it, and I'm not going to lie, some of those bills are pages and pages, and you can't even really understand what they're saying. So there is always kind of a companion to that where it's a report that will tell you what the bill really means. And those are really good to catch. Yes.
So again, I guess what would be really nice then is on you guys, if you would be willing to, I mean, not just have that website sheet, but have those, every law, every name of a person making it hard for you and what law they're supporting, what their position is. So that way we can take that kind of paper, that kind of message, and we could share it with our students' parents and let them know, these are the public officials making your life hard. So when I have these boys out there, Nico and Emmanuel, telling me they want to walk safely at street, I can tell them, this legislator has made the law that makes you worried at night. And I can tell my students, this is the law that has forced that murderer you are sharing a classroom with to be present in the classroom because we cannot remove him from the school. And again, thank you, Dr. Bashai, for keeping our schools safe externally. Really wonderful. It's just tragic that like our way to cope is like we have to turn our schools into fortresses because our state itself, these people feel comfortable and safe. Because they make homelessness, they make it legal to camp wherever they like, but there's no camp outside their home, I'm sure.
Right.
Wherever they live, there's some ordinance that makes it impossible for a criminal or a vagrant to harass them. So just a list of these people and things for all of us to share with our neighbors and friends and students' parents would be just so wonderfully helpful. So we know your struggles and we have names and numbers.
Thank you. And that is one of the things, we are not trying to, I was at the U.S. Conference of Mayors last week, and we've always said you can't arrest your way out of this issue. But there was an addition to that that I find incredibly powerful, and it said, but you also cannot enable your way out of it. We can't enable these behaviors. We can't enable, allow people. We have so many services available. We spent $6 million to buy that whole strip mall so that those services could be covered. And we want to take care. If you are in our community, we welcome you and we want you to be here and we want you to be safe. But if you are not willing to take those resources that we have available, Auburn is probably not the place for you. Right? Because this should be a community for everyone. And it should be a safe community for everyone. And we're not going to tolerate anyone who comes in and doesn't make our city safe. Yes?
Yes, I had to stand because my butt can't take.
I know, the kids are better than we are.
Oh, they're
on these
tougher.
things.
Well, I'm a little older. So could you give us the correct, I had to access the City of Auburn website the other day, and it's hard to find information on there. What would be the best address for your postings if you can get those posted?
So it will be on the auburnwa.gov website, and we will make it front and center.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes?
Now, your school zones, you have the caution lights as you come. Why aren't there caution lights
As you exit?
both sides? Because I know you have the little tiny ones that tell you it's working if you're in between. But you don't have the lights, because there are streets that are in between those lights as you pull out.
And not everyone is a resident that realizes it.
So you're talking about why don't we have flashing lights on each of the side streets that come into the area?
Side streets, as the main street.
Yeah.
You have
Your amber
On the
light.
back
Yeah,
side
so-
of the signs.
Yeah, so in the past, the last time that we were doing photo enforcement with the speed zones for schools, we actually had the flashing lights on either side of that because we have to have that flashing light in the visual of where the camera is. The way that we've done the current program doesn't require us to have it on both sides of that particular sign, and not every single speed zone is enforced in both directions. So some of them are just one direction. That's why we have eight school zones that are enforced and 12 cameras. So some of those are two-way, some of those are just one-way. And that was based on the information that we got when we did the study for those cameras.
But I heard both ways, and you pull out It tells you you should be doing 20 miles an hour instead of.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and it's the way that we set it up so that we have the flashing lights in that camera photo for the photo enforcement.
So Ingrid, is there a way to put some type of signage then on the backside? Instead of having a flashing light, something that says leaving school zone? Something like that?
So for the school zone itself, there should be signs that indicate when you're leaving the school zone. So it's part of the required signage. They just don't have flashers on them.
Right.
But there is signage there that tells you when you're leaving the zone. I believe he's talking about like when you're turning into a zone and not being able to see that light. And so, yeah, that's a little tougher to do because there's lots of driveways along every road where those are, because those are residential streets. So there's never going to be a perfect answer to have flashing lights in every location that you can see.
On those signs, on the signs when you come, in between that, there are little tiny caution lights that don't flash. I find it in front of Pioneer and, you know, on the,
Yeah.
just little tiny amber.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, we're right just a couple minutes past 7 o'clock. We promised we wouldn't keep you late. Thank you so much for coming, and you might see yourselves on YouTube. We will get these posted, and we will also get the bills that we are working on our website, so you have an opportunity to see those with links to all of our legislators as well. Thank you all very much for coming. We really appreciate you.